Hello everyone, it's Fiona Whitten from Oakville Crafts and welcome to the first virtual card and a cuppa for June. Wow, June. Where's that time going? So hopefully those of you who ordered the kits have them. They were sent out just over a week ago, so fingers crossed that you do. I've got some cards to show you that I have made using the kit and some other bits and pieces. So I'm not going to go through these just yet. I just want to quickly go through the kit that everybody got, just so you know what should be in it. So there's an envelope as always. There's a piece of thick basic white that has been cut. So it's half an A4. So it measures 14.9 by 21 centimetres, and then it's scored at 10.5 centimetres. So that's that. You have a piece of Cajun Craze. So this is just a straightforward panel, Cajun Craze, which will fit quite neatly with a little white border onto your base card. You then have 4 little squares that have been cut out of basic black. Apologies, some of you may still have bits that need to be poked out. So you've got 4 different frames, and I'll talk about those in a minute. You've got a very abstract piece of square or rectangle piece of coastal Cabana. And then you have various flowers that fit and can be glued onto the flowers in the frames. So you should have 2 of these, yep, one of those, and then 3 little ones. Okay, and again, those are all in coastal Cabana. So all of that was cut out using these dies. So these are the Floral square dies. You'll find them on page 117 of the annual catalogue. It's one of those pages where if you blink, you could miss it. So these are the 4 dies that cut out the 4 squares. And then these are the various dies for cutting out the flowers. So the one that cuts out the 3 little flowers actually cuts out all 3 in one go. So that saves a bit of time, which is good. So those are the dies, and then they are designed to go with the all squared away stamp set. So none of these dies actually go directly with the images in the stamp set. These are designed to be backgrounds that you can stamp and then layer your die cuts on. So obviously, because Stampin' Up policy doesn't allow me to pre-stamp things for you, sadly I couldn't do this. So we're just making do with dies and cardstock today. Okay, and then I'm going to use the sentiments out of here, but if you want to use your own, then that's fine. You can buy this individually, each of these individually, or you can buy them as a bundle and save yourself 10%, just so you know. And just to give you an idea, so here are some examples where they have stamped the backgrounds. So this one's been stamped and they haven't even applied any of the dies. And then these have been stamped and then glued behind the die cuts. And then obviously the idea is that you can change out your colours and make yourselves different coloured flowers, have different coloured backgrounds and things. So I'm going to share with you I've actually made 3 cards so far. I kind of started and then kept going. So these are the 3 cards that I've made. These are the original 2, which are I would say fairly straightforward. So I started with this one, and I realised after I'd cut everything and started putting cards together that it's very difficult on our UK sized cards, that if you want to add a layer, to actually have these sitting on nicely. So this is what I decided to do for the first one. So I just picked 2 of the squares, glued them on, and then some of these are die cut. I'm sorry, yes, obviously you know that they're die cut because I've done all that for you. They're put on with dimensionals, so they're raised up. So I glued those on first, or at least I should say I didn't glue them on first, I just placed them on so that I could see how much space I had here to stamp a sentiment. Obviously you can stamp a sentiment right across. I liked this one because it fits quite neatly into a square space. So I stamped the happiest birthdays to you, and then I glued the squares on. You don't need to go too mad. I just put a little bit around the edges and then some under some of the flowers. And you see this one's actually, don't think it's actually glued on too well, but that's okay. And then I added the coastal Cabana flowers. So this one's glued on. These 2 are raised up with dimensionals underneath. The little mini dimensionals fit neatly into these little petals. There is a right way and a wrong way to fit these, depending on whether or not you want any of your black showing underneath. So it's up to you. I did manage to get mine to coincide completely. And then these little flowers don't fit on any of these 2 dies, but I thought I would add them just to add some little extra interest. So I glued 2, and then this 3rd one is with dimensionals underneath. Well, it's only got 1 dimension, little mini one. Okay, and then just added some rhinestones for a little bit of bling. So that was my first one. And then obviously you should also have a strip. I forgot to mention that. I think it's because I somehow seem to have misplaced mine, but that's okay. So you should also have a strip of the Coastal Cabana Designer Series paper from the Brights collection. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one, I decided that I was actually going to cut up my piece of Cajun Craze. These squares are 5 centimetres by 5 centimetres. So I simply cut this into 6 5 by 5 centimetre squares. And then once I'd done that, I glued 3 of the die cuts on to 3 of the Cajun Craze squares. Having said that, I glued those 2, and then this particular one, this is what your square is for. There is no die for this particular shape here, so you can leave it black, but what I did was, before I glued it on, I kind of reversed it. Let's see if I can find it. Where is it? It's this one. It's still got some bits in it. Let me get rid of them. I should use my poke to pick. All right, so this particular one here doesn't have a die shape to go with it. So what I simply did was I placed my piece of Coastal Cabana on it, turned it over, drew around it, and then fussy cut it. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. It's really up to you. If you want to use this particular piece, again, I'm going to poke these bits out. You only have 3 flowers. So again, if you want to, and this is probably a bit easier, simply draw around and then cut them out. I think you'll only need, well, you can get away with just 1, 2, 3, and then 1. If you want to put another one on there, that's fine as well. But I decided I wasn't going to use that one. But I did do the fussy cutting for that one. So yeah, so once you've done that bit, if you're going to do it, or done that bit if you're going to put it on the other one, then you're going to glue all the squares on, and then you can just have a play around to decide how you want this to look. The 6 do fit on, it's quite tight. In fact, you'll have a larger border down the edges than you will top and bottom. I stamped the sentiment on one of the squares. But as I said, you can just simply put these on. What I did was I actually did this row first. So I started with putting this one on. So this has got foam pads underneath. That one's glued. That's got foam pads. And then once I've done that column, then I glued this one, dimensionalised that one and glued that one. And obviously you'd want to stamp before you glue that one on. And then I added the 3 little flowers again. So that was, and then the inside. So that was what I did with that one. My third one that I have already done looks like this. So I chose this time to only use 2 of these. Now, I don't know if you can actually see, I can't see it because where my stand is. There's actually foam all the way around and under all of these pieces here. Now for that I used these foam adhesive sheets. So they come in a handy square. And then what you would do, obviously it's too late to do this now because these are already die cut out. But what you would do is that you would get a square of whatever colour you were using for your frame. I'm just going to get scrapped quickly. Now I know that these are 5 centimetres by 5 centimetres. So if I just get a piece of 5 by 5, like that. Now you don't want to be covering this with all of the black unless you are going to be doing all 4. So I'm only going to do 1. So what you need to do is you've got your black square and you would simply, actually you don't even need to do it that way, put it on the top like that. Cut around it. Like, that's right, like that. So that's my square. You would then stick this onto the back of your piece of cardstock that you were going to be die cutting, and you do it better than what I've just done. I'm sure you would. And then you would get your die, which is here. So I'm going to use that one. And then you would just simply run it through your die cutting embossing machine. So I'm going to quickly just show you. So I'm going to run it through my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss. So I know that I need my number 1 plate and then 2 of my number 2 plates because that's what I'm die cutting. So you would put this on, make sure it's face down. Hopefully you can see this. And then you would simply run it through. And it will go through and it will make a lot of horrible cracking noises. Not always. And I kind of run it back again just to make sure. You don't have to, I think it'll go first time around. So you don't need the bit that goes around, so move this out the way. And then you simply pop out, take off the die, pop out the bits that you don't want. It's up to you whether you keep the centre of the flower or not. Like so. Oh dear. Let's get that off. There we go. And then when you're ready, So this is all ready to go now. So when you're ready to put this on wherever you want, you would simply peel off the backing and then adhere it to wherever space that you want it. So yeah, I've actually decided that I wasn't sure about the foam adhesive sheets to start off with, but now that I've used them and I've used them for this, it's like, yes, it's so much easier. Obviously, you've got bits that you don't want or need, so you can throw those away. Unless you can think of something you could do with those. I guess some people put them all together again and make a negative, but I'm not sure that I have the time nor the inclination to do that. So, yep, straight into the bin. So you'll find these sheets on this page that has all the adhesives on. So I know I'm going to end up getting some more of these. So you can actually get 4 out of a sheet quite easily. If you're careful with it, then obviously you've got a strip left that you can use for something else. So that was what I did with this. So those two, as they were cut out like I've just showed you. Then I've simply glued on the coastal Cabana flower heads. I used another stamp from the coordinating stamp set. So I used this one, So You Are So Worth Celebrating. Stamped that on, and then I added the little flowers again. So that was my third card that I've already made. So those are those 3. So now I get to craft. Tidy up a little bit and sit down. Right, so we have our coastal cabana. As tempting as it is to use that piece, I'm not going to. So we have our coastal cabana, and I'm actually going to do a landscape card. I've already decided. And then the question is, which ones am I going to do? Am I going to do it landscape like that? Now, there's nothing to stop you from embossing or doing something with this piece of Cajun Craze. It's really up to you. And I do have a couple of embossing folders that will go through the mini, she says. Let's see what have I got. So these are the embossing folders that go through the mini. Quite like these. So these are the greenery embossing folders. So they're the same length as the standard ones, but obviously they're not as wide. So if you have a strip that you want to simply emboss, then that would work. I think that actually might end up being a little bit too thick. So I'm not sure about that. So what I am going to do is I'm going to cut this. Now I know that these are 5 by 5, so if I cut it so that there will be a little piece top and bottom here, I think that's what I'm going to do. So if I cut it so that it's 5 by 5, I want 1/2 centimetre top and bottom. So I'm going to do it 6 centimetres wide. And then what am I going to do with that? So that leaves me 4. So I'm actually going to cut that in half. I will do something with it. So, like that. So that would fit on quite neatly there. And then this one would fit on quite neatly here. And then I could put a sentiment there if I wanted to, but I'm not sure that I will at the moment. But what I am going to do is I'm going to emboss this piece. So I'm going to put that in my embossing folder. Bring back my mini Stampin' Cut machine. Now this time, I know I need to make sure which one I'm using, because these aren't, I need to make sure that it's not this is a standard one. Okay, so for a standard one, it tells me that I need to use plate 1 and plate 3. So I need this one, which is plate 3, and then the standard plate 1. So plate 1 gets used most of the time. Now, it's like everything else, when you're coming to doing embossing, you want to put in the hinge bit first. So I'm going to lay that on there, and then we're going to put number 3 on top. And then simply run it through like that. It would have been nice to go that way, but because of the width, you don't get that option. Obviously, if you've got something similar and it's a lot wider, then you could do that. So I'm actually going to end up having my leaves going that way. So this is going to go on here. And I'm going to put this piece under here and under here. Like so. I think you can kind of probably know where I'm going now. I mean, you could just, actually, you could just do that and that. Like piece it back together again. Oh, I'm not sure. And then I've got my two pieces here. So I think I'm going to, if I glue the flowers on first, that might give me an idea what I want to do. So that one's going to get glued, those two are going to get glued on there. That one's going to have that one glued on. And you can glue, as I said, you can glue or you can put foam pads underneath. It's really up to you. Get rid of that little bit of glue that's dried at the top. And you don't need a lot. Now this is where the fun bit is. Now there are two of these petals which are quite wide, and there's one of them, and there's the other. So that one and that one need to go there, like that. Cool, first time. That's that one. Oops. Did work first time, but now it's kind of decided it doesn't really want to. Glue that one on. Now, if you don't have any of the adhesive sheets to die cut with, you can, of course, simply just use normal dimensionals and things. The only issue will be is that you won't necessarily get all the edges. You can do. So those are those two, and I am going to put these on with dimensionals. So I'm going to grab my mini ones because they are ideal. Let's see. So these are the mini dimensionals. If you've ever, I don't know if anyone's seen them. So that's a normal size, and a mini is, in comparison, very mini. So you can see the actual comparison there. So I'm just going to put a few behind the flower. I'm going to put some on the leaves, because then I know that they're not going to go anywhere. if you want to make sure that this is not going to go anywhere, then you can use the edging. So if you really, really want to be sure, then I would suggest you just simply cut very small, thin strip off the edge. I think I went a bit too thin at one end. And then you can simply put that on there, like so. And then that one can go on there. I'm not sure that cutting this and going all the way around is necessary. It's really up to you. The edges, these edges do tend to kind of like stick, so that's that one. And then let's cut another one. So the adhesive sheets are definitely a must because it makes it so much easier. But because yours are already die cut, then there's nothing wrong with just, as I said, simply using the edging and just cutting thin. I mean, it is very thin. It's probably only a couple of millimeters wide. And I would suggest when you put it on that you do it on opposite sides. Just, well, that's actually on top and bottom, just to give it some stability. If you do that one and that one, then you might end up finding that it's kind of pivoting and that corner is going to droop. Bring back my embossed part. So who's taken a look at the last chance list for the January to June mini catalogue? Can't believe how many items are on there with 50% off. I'm actually going to put in an order later. So if you want something and you're local, let me know. I've got an order going in at noon, so it's probably not much time for you to think about it, but there will be an order going in later in the month, although there's no guarantee by then that things will still be around. That's the one thing about the these retirement lists, is it is purely while supplies last. So if there is something on it that you want, then shout sooner rather than later. Or alternatively, you can simply just go and use my online store. Let's see. I obviously didn't glue that one on very well because I can see it. Let's just roll it back. Try and hide it. And then there's a dimension there that I can see, which is easy. Just chomp it with a pair of scissors and just cut off a little bit. Just cut it at an angle, because then that will definitely make sure that you won't be able to see it. I'm going to put that there like that, like so. If you can see bits, paper snips are good. Just kind of just poke them back under. That's that. Now, let's see, what did I have left? I had some flowers, didn't I? Here we go. So I've got, oops. So I've got a flower left, so you could put that in the middle. Or you could put the 3 in the middle. I think I'm going to go different and go with that one. So this one I'm going to put with the dimensional, and I'm going to use one of the bigger ones simply because I'm going to use a rhinestone in the middle of it, so you won't see it. Go there. So again, you can just poke that back under. That's like that. And then, so I've got my card front, which is here. So I can put that on there. I can stamp a sentiment if I want to, or I could put these underneath. I'm not sure that I'm actually going to. I think I just quite like the idea of it going and being glued directly to the front. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, because I've embossed this, I need to be quite generous with the glue, because you want to make sure that it's not going to shift once you put it on. And obviously, if all the glue just goes in the dimples, then it's not going to stick. Just move that slightly like that. Actually, I might push it from that side. So that's my third card. That's that, and then I need a rhinestone, which I know I have. She says, yes, here we go. Now that's a fairly large flower, so I could go with a larger rhinestone. So I'm just going to pop that in. So there you go. So that's my third card. So I'll bring back the others. Obviously I need to finish it off and find my strip of designer series paper. Maybe I'll put it back in here. That will fit in. So you know what, I will finish off my cards now, because I want to make sure that it is finished. This is probably a little bit too wide for what I want. So I want to take it down to 1.5. That's that. Don't need that bit. Now I could fix that in. Actually, no, that's not going to work because that's slightly shorter than that. So I'm just going to glue that in on the bottom. When in doubt, give it a bit of a shake. So, things going on at the moment. Wow, goodness, there's lots of things. So we have the last chance list, which came out last night. We've got the new kits collection, which is, and they're a lot of fun. So they were announced a couple of weeks ago, but they actually came out yesterday too. There we go, that's the card. The host, extra £20 to spend for free. That's going until the 14th. So even if you don't actually want to host a party, but if you've got a large order, if you have friends who craft, you can get together and just simply put in one order. And once it reaches £150, then you get 10%, so you get £15 back. But if once it gets to £200, you would actually get £40 in total to spend. So 10% of the 200 plus the extra 20. So that's a really good offer. So that goes until the 14th. So don't miss out on that one. I'm planning things with the kits at the moment. It's not going to be a class per se. It's going to be more of a crafty get together, which I'm going to do an evening once a month. And even if you don't have the kits, you can still come along. So I just need to work out that, and that will be going up. Actually, let's put that way. You can see them. That will be going up on the blog and on Facebook and stuff very, very soon. So I think those are my 4 cards, and I hope you've enjoyed that. And I will be back next Wednesday for stamping techniques. Quick reminder that the class at the end of the month, which features Beauty of the Earth. Booking for that closes really soon. So if you want to join us for that, then please visit oakvilleCrafts.com and then click on the tab at the top that says classes, kits, etc. And that will take you, you then can then go on to the actual direct link for the booking of the class. I'm going to quickly show you. Could be tempting fate here. So this is one of the cards that we will be making, just so that you know. And that's it for today then, and I will see you next week. Obviously, keep in touch. Things will be going up on Facebook and in the newsletters. And I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.